Opposite Gloves here, and this is another video in the DSP, and today we're going to be talking about oversampling and just give you a quick idea of what that is in anti-aliasing and what that is and why it exists and why it's a thing, and a lot of plugins that you look at. In many plugins, oversampling is something to help you sort of resolve higher frequency content problems. So why is that a thing? And it's also in your render settings. If you go to export, click on like MP3 or whatever, you click save, and then you have this resampling. We're going to talk specifically about aliasing and oversampling today and exactly what that is. So to start off, we have a sine wave. And our sine wave, as I talked about in just the basic sampling video, the one before this one, is being sampled at a rate, and that rate is reproducing our signal. Now, we can choose, so when we have our sample rate set, so let's say for this particular signal, we sample it at a rate where there's a point here, 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 and so on and so forth at somewhere around that rate. And when we combine them all, we'll get this image, which is really fine and dandy. But this is where oversampling comes in. Let's say we have a frequency like this. Let me click that. Okay. If we take that same sample rate and do one here, and then there'll be one up here, and then one down here, and then one over here, and then one maybe down here, as our rate, because our rate would remain consistent, we would have a serious problem because we would have a different signal, a much bigger, slower signal out of our sine wave. And so in order to defeat this, so now we have a signal component essentially that we do not want. So in order to fix this, all you do is you take additional samples. It's called oversampling, and you get back your original signal. Now, if you oversample a signal that's already been sampled, you'll just get more samples in the wrong signal. So if we were to take this signal and to oversample that jazz, but no, we were to sample it regular, so at a regular thing, so we'd get our big loppy signal, and then we were to oversample the big loppy signal, do a signal conversion where we get more samples, we'd have problems because it would not be the same signal. So this really matters at the beginning. Now, plugins like Citrus, for example, have this option in here, and they have a render option. So when you render how much oversampling you want, obviously times 64 is a lot, or your draft, so what you hear when you're working with Citrus, you can hear the oversampling, and you can actually hear it on a sine wave. A saw wave. So let's go to a saw wave, and we'll play a high note, and we'll turn our oversampling off, and we'll go to our spectrum view, and you'll see a bunch of additional signal that shouldn't be there because it's doing that sample problem because our sample rate's not fast enough. As a result, we get signals that are actually lower than the signal we're playing. So for example, let's play a note. You see we have all this stuff down here should not be there. That's a no-no. So we're going to turn up our resampling to resample it 4 times, or oversample. I keep saying resample. I'm sorry about that. Oversample. And we'll play our same note. And all that stuff is gone. If we turn it back, though, we got all that stuff back. And that is called aliasing, and you don't want that. It is also called harmonic distortion because we have harmonics there that should not be there. So that is what that is. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I know I was sort of general about things, but I wanted to just give you a practical application for why you would use something like this and why it matters on the upper end. So I hope I gave you something you could really use and grab onto and understand. Subscribe if you find these videos useful, and have a blessed day.